Barry to be powerful. I didn't consider Marion Barry to be powerful. I don't even consider the black woman who's here to be powerful. Tom Bradley, the guy in Los Angeles, I consider him to be pitiful, not powerful.
Who is powerful?
Powerful is when you can deliver resources, services, and substances to your people and not compromise. The only black people who can become mayors of these cities are people who compromise with the white power system and deliver the resources to other places other than our community in Los Angeles. And I think the reason why we wouldn't be sitting here if they would have delivered the right verdict is because white people wouldn't have been hurt, white property wouldn't have been damaged, and America wouldn't have lost to the tune of $500 million. In terms of solutions, however, for young people, I see it as black people having to put pressure on the system, continued and consistent pressure. That we need to, I'm going to tell you what for. What we need to do is get our experts together, make an economic assessment of our relationship to America, our contribution to corporate activity, and divest from America as a white racist institution. Black youth, we spend a lot of money on sneakers, we spend a lot of money on gear, we spend a lot of money on jewelry, and we're going to have to be unified. For the first time in Los Angeles, we saw unity between the Bloods and the Crips. We need that.
Yes,
we need black
but
unity.
Sister Soldier, these two gangs out there were unified in looting the community. They temporarily abandoned their own enmity between each other and help to ransack their own communities.
That doesn't mean that I give up hope on their ability to become politically conscious. I think that black youth have been neglected, and they've also been looted, which is why they're looting.
Welcome to another episode of the Nick and CJ Show. I'm one of your hosts. I'm CJ. What's up, Nick?
Welcome to RBN, my friends, my family. We are back. We got a lot of great stuff to cover. A lot of great shows coming up. I think JB gonna have Mark Kimberly on his channel.
Yep.
And, Glenn Greenwald is gonna join us tomorrow at 1 p.m. Eastern. So a lot of great content coming up on RBN. Make sure you guys like and share the stream. We got a lot to say today, but go ahead, CJ.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, like the channel. We're at 23,832. I'm looking at it right now. So we're now averaging over 205,000 views a month. So we just crossed 200 the average. So we're doing good. Keep subscribing, keep recommending us. Let's build this working class community. Let's build this movement. Also, if you want to get notifications of streams like this, just join our Substack and we send out notifications of those streams. Right now, we are sending out there's an uptick in the amount of streams notifications we're sending out because we just had the summit and we chopped those up. So you're going to get an uptick in it, but this is not normal, just so you know. It's typically 1 or 2 a day. All right. So Nick, how this came about is that I'll put the graphic up real quick. Complicity with fascist GOP is that it was yesterday's discussion, and we kind of talked about it. But I want to kind of zero in on it.
We didn't even have time to go through all the receipts.
Exactly. And we did a 3-hour stream.
Yeah, it was a 3-hour stream, and we still didn't cover everything that we wanted to cover. I played that last segment, and you had to dip out the end. And I'm like, damn, I had like 2 more segments saved. We didn't get to the Elizabeth Warren segment. Right.
So we're going to be starting with that one, by the way. We're starting with Elizabeth Warren. But all of the stories we're covering is illustrating how Democrats are complicit with fascistic behavior out of the GOP party. And let me explain. It's like this. If you and I, Nick, are vying for the attention of the same girl, how can we distinguish ourselves? Like, if I'm a terrible boyfriend, like I'm terrible, I'm cheating, I'm doing all kind of crazy stuff, right? Shouldn't it be a very easy choice for her if you're doing great things? Why is it such a hard choice? Why is it such a close race, close all over between Republicans and Democrats? Bro. I mean, unless you also decide to be bad, you cheat too. You know what I mean? You cheat every month. I cheat every week. So you feel like, oh, I'm lesser of the two evils. That's how you present yourself to her. Is this a choice? You get what I'm saying? But you see how one bad person, one of the choices that's being bad, this should be an easy choice if the other choice is doing good things. This is not hard. This is not hard, Nick. Go ahead.
I will. Speaking of the midterms, I had the debate last night playing in the background while I was doing chores, and I mentioned this on our show yesterday. The fact that you have these Democrats and races against Dr. Oz, and you in a competitive race with Dr. Oz. You are in a competitive race with Herschel Walker. What does that say about? No, so I watched in a lot of the corporate media segments. They're like, "Oh, this is what they say." They say, "Oh my God, the state of the GOP," which is they somewhat correct.
Yeah,
here. But they said the state of the GOP, where you got Herschel Walker and Dr. Oz. I'm like, nigga, y'all in competitive races with them. Yeah, you're true. That does say a lot about the GOP. But what does it say about you guys that you guys can't beat comfortably Dr. Oz and Herschel Walker? And we're gonna get into this later this afternoon. Dr. Oz had his debate with John Fetterman, and everyone's talking about John Fetterman performance in terms of is he mentally fit? Everyone's talking about his speech and how he was struggling to communicate. And while everyone is talking about that, that's quite literally the last thing that's on my mind. After watching this goddamn debate, I am listening to what John Fetterman is saying, and I'm like, this dude is a fucking Bill Clinton neocon. And we're gonna cover that here later. He was on the debate stage as what is the biggest foreign policy threat, and he was like, he might as well turn to Mike Pompeo. He might as well call John Bolton up like, hey, yo, John Bolton, you want to take this question from me, bro? He might as well pass the baton to him because he was like, China is the greatest threat to America. We're gonna cover that later, but just the absolute state of things. That is why you guys are struggling to get Dr. fucking Oz. But go ahead, CJ. We'll come back.
He might as well pass the jump. Hey, you want to take this question, bro? That's so smart.
He's like, he might as well hit someone else up. And that ties into our first story because Elizabeth Warren. I think I'll let you.
Yes, but let's do a chat check and a like check. I hope we have I hope Zoya's here. She kind of shouted us out and wanted us to touch upon something. When we get to, I think it was when we get to the John Fetterman part, Ajamu Baraka said something about it, and she was just saying, hey, talk about what he's saying, and it's on this topic, and that's the reason why. What's this? Let's see what she's saying. Sabby's rant on AOC giving money to corporate Dems was fire. They're talking about that clip.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, Sabby was on fire yesterday. I saw a little bit of the clip that she was talking about where she said that we need to move all of them. Like, you can't be a progressive Democrat, you funding corporate Democrats. And she was calling out AOC. It was great. It was great. But go ahead, CJ. Make sure you gotta check out Sabby and JB, our other sister channels here. But go ahead, CJ.
Yeah. This is all a family, so we're telling the story together, even if it's on their channel. Just put all this, you know what I mean? Put all the streams together. They're telling the story of the same thing, which is a failing or falling empire. Just saying what's up to everybody. Make sure you give us a like to get started. I won't do a like check right now because let's get into the story. Here is the first story we're gonna cover is let's call this one. Let's keep it simple. I want to try to keep it to 2 words. The snake. That's pretty fitting, right? That's what this segment is called, the snake, only because she's one of the politicians in it. There's actually a couple, and let me read the caption here. And this is from Jose Vega. Vega was on the channel when we interviewed him about AOC's protest. Go ahead, Nick. I think you were going to say something.
I was about to say the same people who supported Elizabeth Warren. Like I remember in 2020, and this is when I was part of the Bernie camp. This is when I should have known there was this massive split among people who support Bernie, because there were these people in the Bernie camp that was like, yeah, we need to ally with Elizabeth Warren, and we got to make sure we go easy on the, because I still remember to this day, a lot of people in the Bernie camp would get mad at me because I used to ruthlessly drag Elizabeth Warren, and I was like, you guys are out of your fucking mind, thinking that she's an ally. And then people were like, oh my God, we can't attack Elizabeth Warren. Bernie has a strategy where we're going to walk alongside with her and then we get her endorsement. How did that work? And so I noticed the same people who were sympathetic to Elizabeth Warren, and I'm not making this up. If you guys are independent media, Cenk Uygur literally had a debate with Kyle Kalinske about who the left should support, Bernie Sanders or Elizabeth Warren. Emma Vigeland from the Majority Report was unapologetically in preference of Elizabeth Warren. That's the Majority Report. And they used to do favorable stories on her all the time. Even after she betrayed the Bernie Sanders campaign in order to get a Hillary Clinton vice presidential slot. Then she voted for Trump's military deals and trade budgets. At no point was she ever progressive. At no point. But then the Bernie movement loved her, and they still love her to this day. Bernie, even after Elizabeth Warren smeared him as a secret sexist, even after, like, she made her career calling out Joe Biden and Barack Obama because of the bankruptcy bill. Then she ran in 2020 as an agent of the Biden administration. To this day, that still upholds. People was like, oh my God, we can't attack Elizabeth Warren. Bro, she literally never attacked Biden throughout that entire election.
Yeah.
And then as soon as Mike Bloomberg caught up with Joe Biden, who did she start attacking? She started attacking Mike Bloomberg. And then when it was down to Bernie and Biden, she started attacking Bernie. She was literally an agent of the Biden campaign, the same way she was an agent of the Hillary Clinton campaign. And then people in the progressive movement still like, yeah, Elizabeth Warren's a part of our progressive movement. That's all. And these same people are supporting John Fetterman now. Like, and that
I put her in that camp with John Fetterman, and like Ayanna Pressley. They're even lighter than like the squad. They're like to the right of the squad, if you could be that. Warren's family is friends of Emma. I didn't know that.
Yeah, I knew that because Emma, I still remember this from when I was on the campaign. She was a big Warren booster. And it made no sense for anyone, if you're a progressive, to like Elizabeth Warren. But that just showed that she's part of the boutique left professional managerial club, where she was soft on Warren. She used to attack people who criticized Warren because she was a family friend of Elizabeth Warren. Do you guys see how that relationship works? Anyway, we can get back to the video. I just want to add this context because Warren, I can always rant against her, and that just showed the effectiveness of the Bernie campaign, that they treated her as an ally, and then they continue to this day to treat her as one.
Yeah, after I mean, look what he does to the Democratic Party. They cheat him, and then he continued to this day to cheat her. I mean, that's what he does. So, but here is actually, let me read the caption here. Here is some friends of Jose Vega, who was on the show in Boston, confronted. Now, this is back in Sabby's country, who confronted Elizabeth Warren and Ayanna Pressley on a nuclear issue. The Congresswomen has been shown to be a coward, and Warren a even bigger one. Will they allow us to die in nuclear holocaust? So let's now listen to the video here.
Senator, you have got to stop funding a Nazi-infested Ukrainian regime. You are bringing us to the brink of nuclear war. You have got Those billions could be used for a lot of good things here in the U.S. Instead of funding Nazis in Ukraine, they're preparing a dirty bomb to detonate and blame on Russia.
This is not why we're here.
I am here to make sure that billions of lives are saved instead of getting into a nuclear war.
They might as well just substitute the word and go civility politics, sir. Civility politics, sir. Like just say that, because that's what this is what this is. Go ahead.
I always love to bust the bubble of Western chauvinism. So just think about how the quote-unquote authoritarian country is presented in the United States, the quote-unquote communist authoritarian regime where there is no dissent. Now, break down your bias, decolonize your mind, and view the United States from a non-biased point of view. What does this look like? This is someone decrying our government that is pushing and advocating for endless war and escalating the risk of nuclear war. And you see how well-trained the civilians are? The civilians, when you question the ruling class on very important things, their instinctual reaction to like, oh my God, don't question their leader. How dare you question our glorious regime? Even though he calling her out for supporting Nazis.
Right.
and you see this. Remember, we showed the AOC protest. We showed the Jamal Brown protest. You see this mass psychosis that the American people was brainwashed to believe that the guy who's calling out the evil politician for doing evil shit, he's the bad guy. He's the bad guy because he's not following decorum. He's not following civility politics. That is meant, as we've said many times, and you can't help but notice, that's why I don't understand why other people don't bring it up. It is used as a shield to protect these neocons, these criminals that we have in our government. And I'm gonna ask you guys this one question. We let the video keep playing. Do the establishment, do the same ruling class that pretend they love civility politics, they love decorum, that they love nonviolence, do they use that against us? How nonviolent are they when it comes to us when we break their laws? When they engaging with a country that has a different geopolitical strategy and perspective than they do they engage with them in a civil way? Do they engage in decorum with us when we're in the street protesting? No, they tear gas us. No, they bomb those countries. So we need to stop allowing the establishment goons to brainwash us and teach us bad tactics. Because while you guys are doing this kumbaya, let's be nice to politicians bullshit, they are ruthless to us. So let's continue the video. That's the concept of civility politics and how it's used against the working class. Let's go back to the video, CJ.
Great point. Real quick, like this video. 103 likes. We're at 200 subscribers. Can we push to 175? 175 likes. Let's get there, please. And here is the video.
You've asked me, I heard you.
Yes.
I will move towards the end.
This is not.
Yes.
That's
This
not
way.
it.
No.
There's a bunch of
Nuclear war.
need to benefit from
Yes,
this.
I'm
Let's
black
let
and brown too.
So then let them get the information.
And I don't
Let
want them to
get
die.
Look at how
Look
at how they try to use
my tax money is.
Look at how they try to use identity. You can rewind it just a little bit against CJ.
Yeah, that guy.
Recognize identity politics. So if you are calling out nuclear war, and then this guy calls them out to their face, like, "I'm black too, motherfucker. I'm a person of color too." But imagine if that was a white guy, though. Imagine
right. He couldn't use that because they would have used that. They would have been like that guy would have been. He would have been famous in the red hat because they would have used it. But now when the guy replies, "I'm black and Mexican," he's like, "Oh damn, can't use that one. Can't use that."
Think about the broken brain on that fucking person. Because apparently, if that was a white guy, they'd be like, "Oh my God, you being racist for calling out the escalation of nuclear war." You guys see, and this is how intellectually lazy people are able to weaponize and say, "Oh, this is woke politics and woke imperialism," which is true to some degree because you got these baby brain imperialists who hijack our language, but they use identity politics. They use our language. They use the language of liberation to shield the people who are doing damage to our communities, which makes them as bad as the right and Republic. They're doing the same thing, but if anything, they're more slick. They're more disgusting. They're just like what Malcolm X said. They're like the fox, the liberals, the fox. They're more deceptive, and that make them more dangerous. So they will use your language. They're like, oh, we stand for black people, we stand for indigenous people, we stand for Latino people. We use woke language while supporting the system that crushes those people.
Right. This is why they're able to use woke as a slur, because people like Elizabeth Warren, who are not doing the green stuff, the Democratic Party, who are not doing green actual things, but they're projecting to do that while they do neoliberal things. This is how they're able to co-opt that language. But I want us to zero in. Look at who is being used to defend the ruling class. Women, black people, and this guy, I can't tell. But yeah, women and black people, people of color, shielding the protester, the ruling class representatives. That's what we're doing now. And we're using identity. You see how the ruling class has gotten people who should be against them on their side, defending them against us.
Do you guys see the two-front war that we had to fight now at RBN? Because we got to call out these liberal neocons who hijack our language and they hijack our liberation politics in order to justify imperialism, while at the same time telling people that that abuse the word woke, that the woke people aren't imperialists. The quote unquote people who actually believe in social justice and revolution, they are not pro-war. You guys need to explain that the neocons hijacked our language, and they take the language that progressive-minded people use and then use that as a weapon to advance imperialist causes and goals.
Nick, we need you and I. We're gonna put ourselves on Front Street. You and I need to cover this on the stream. Literally, like, cover just deconstructing the word woke, breaking that shit down, what it's supposed to be, how it's being co-opted, because we need to have it in the catalog for I Am Revolution. We need to have it in there because people are allowing it to be done, and we need to reclaim it. We have to reclaim it. We can't allow them to take it.
Yeah, it's a push for anti-intellectualism, and the guys are. There's a reason why the liberal class is going along with it. This is why you guys understand. When you guys go along with the woke culture war, they love that shit because they're like, oh, we successfully erased the left. That's their goal. They want to erase the real liberation fighters. So when people hear a quote unquote woke language, they immediately think of neocon liberals. So when you do that, you are helping the Democratic Party when you tie them to social movements that they are not a part of. You guys understand? So whenever you guys like, oh, the woke mob and Democrat Party, people like Joe Biden, they like, he called me woke. He thinks I'm woke. He spread the idea to his audience that I'm woke. I'm not woke. Thank you for letting people know that think that I'm woke. They're not in any way. They're the most evil, the most racist, complicit people in our society with white supremacy. Are we clear? And then they use woke language and progressive ideology to shield that. So we need to call that out instead of demonizing the language that liberation movements use. And that's the position RBN. We're the only channel I see that take this. Every other channel I see, they just go along with the lazy bullshit because it's easier. It's easier to get the right-wing clicks, to get the intellectually lazy clicks by instead of just saying the record straight. I can't do it, man, because you guys are hijacking our terms. And I see the detriment it has to our community. But anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, like wait. I wonder what's gonna happen after we do that stream on woke, and see how that affects the dialogue on the left. But anyway, let's get back to the video. Let's let it finish it out. But these points that Nick and I are pointing out, look who's shielding the ruling class from awful things like nuclear war, saying this is not the time.
Yes, I'm black and brown too.
So let them get the information.
And I don't want them to die in a nuclear war.
This way, sir, please.
That my tax money is funding because the Congress and the Senate are funding Nazis in Ukraine. Do you want a nuclear war? A nuclear war will cancel your debt and your life.
That's a great line.
I have sent letters, I have sent emails, I have made calls to these senators and congressmen. They refuse to respond.
That's
We are marching to nuclear war behind fools in political office. They have got to stop it.
Thank you.
Nuclear.
You know what they're saying to each other? These peasants keep getting through. That's what they're saying. He's a taxpayer. You're funding nuclear war, and then you're projecting these image, and then you don't let critiques get to you, so you can live in this bubble. You just prevent critiques from getting to you, and then when it gets to you, you want to act like they're out of line.
They are looking
sending
at each
emails.
other.
He said, "I've been sending emails and letters with no response." Because they want to say, why don't you send an email? That's what somebody said in the crowd. Like, nigga, they gonna really respond to him.
Yeah, what the fuck? What the do they really believe that? Now, do they understand how bad this makes them look? Because we're gonna let the video play. He was asking very legit questions, and they responded to him as if he was shouting, "Hey, Elizabeth Warren, why are you a reptile? I heard you drinking the blood of kids." If he was saying stuff like that, then that response would make sense, right? And the same thing with the Jamal Bowman AOC protest. If there would have been protesters and they were saying you are a far left Antifa goon that's in the tank for China and you want to implement socialism and communism, then I can get people be like, all right, let's get this crazy motherfucker out. That would make sense to me, to be honest. But this dude is literally advocating. These people be advocating for peace. They be saying straight up facts, and then they respond in a way that they are crazy. Do you understand how bad that makes y'all look?
Yeah, it's like psychologically, think about what he's saying. Just imagine this. Here's an analogy. What if he's saying, Elizabeth Warren, I'm going to donate $10 million to you. I love you. Imagine him taking them out for that. You see how ridiculous that looks? You see how they're like, come on, guys. Come on, calm down. There's a time and place for you to talk about giving her $10 million. Like, it's so stupid. It's so stupid.
They will have a moment of silence and applause for that person. They're like, hey, we'll give it up for them. Anything you want to add, let's give them a minute. Give them an extra minute. Anything you want to give a speech.
Hey, what is your name? Where are you from, sir? That's exactly what they would have done. All right, let's continue.
Nuclear war is the issue.
Now you want to do the cowardly thing and shout them down?
Nuclear war. Consideration.
None of this matters if there's a nuclear war and we all die. In 2018, there was an evil. Workers defending the ruling class. This is what we're up against, Nick. This is the deprogramming that we have to do. Go ahead.
The only pushback I have is that we don't know how many workers there are. Because I look at this, I think a lot of this are staff. I saw some people in comments saying they said a lot of this may be just DNC staff. Because
I'm just looking at this lady.
I mean,
you're right. The rest of them.
Yeah, you may be right, CJ. You may be right, but we also got to consider that a lot of people may be just DNC staff. But
they're handlers. They're handlers. They're handlers, the ones that get it going. The handlers are the ones that get boo, and they'll go like this. Like, you know what I mean? Trying to get the crowd that's here. Yeah, boo. Let me just hear. It's because people don't get. Go ahead. No, go ahead.
Sorry, but to your point though, it is sad that there are real workers and real people that do just fall. Like it's like a herd mentality where they should see like staff will start booing, and you saw the ALC event. The staff will start booing when they question Jamal Bowman, and people just like they just hear boos like boo, they just go along with it. But so I get what you're saying. That is kind of sad because you see people just go along. We're protecting the wrong class because Americans are trying to be.
Because if I was out there, I would turn around. If I didn't know it, I would turn around and go,
yeah, why are we funding Nazis out there?
Yeah.
Like if I was a regular person, I would turn around and say that if I didn't know that.
I'm gonna start yelling at these motherfuckers. I'm gonna yell at the motherfuckers yelling at him if I'm ever one of these things. This thing happens. They be like, "Hey, shut up!" No, y'all niggas shut up. He got something to say. Hey, we y'all ain't one fight the fuck. Ain't one calm down. Let this guy talk.
But I love the strategy that they always have two, because you're gonna let him talk and they're gonna take him out. Yeah, let's get this unruly, and then the other one starts to talk.
That's a great.
You notice this? Yeah, this is a great strategy to have two planted there so that it can continue to go. Yeah, that is a great strategy. Let's continue.
None of this matters if there's a nuclear war and we all die. In 2018, there was a legal.
Cancel student debt. Cancel student debt. Cancel student debt.
Oh my fucking God.
Cancel student debt.
But listen, I mean, this is it's such a picture.
Oh my God.
It's such a picture of the political state of Americans, Nick. Listen to the snapshot, or picture the snapshot here. We have the ruling class that's funding the war, and somebody's coming in saying stop nuclear war, and the people are chanting cancel student debt.
Dude, that
because
is so
as if the Democratic Party that she belongs to is doing anything like that, Nick.
Yes.
As if it's a possibility. You see what they've got people to buy into? He's talking about nuclear war that they're funding, which is literally something that could happen.
Dude,
especially with China. China is not gonna fuck around, Nick. China is not fucking around at all, man. You ain't fucking with China with Taiwan, man. Do you understand what we're walking into? And the party that's in power that's funding this, she belongs to. And you got their defenders, the liberals, the K-Hive, the E-Hive, the Snake Hive, or whatever what they want to call them, talking about cancel student debt as the house is burning. As the glaciers are burning, Nick, and water levels are rising, we're talking about cancel student debt. And think about how many people is that going to affect, Nick?
Exactly.
Not that is because I'm going to be affected. I'm something like $40,000. So I'm one of the people who would be affected if it get canceled. So don't think that I'm like saying it because doesn't affect me. I would be lucky ones that would be affected. So I'm saying, but think about all the millions of people. You're talking about cancel student debt. He's talking about nuclear war that affects every single living thing on the planet. It's a brainwashing of priorities. I'll let you continue. I'll keep going on.
This is so poetic and so symbiotic to everything we've been saying about the professional managerial class. Like this video sums up everything in a nutshell. He brings up a real geopolitical issue about us funding Nazis and how that can escalate to nuclear war, right? And then the professional managerial class deflects to, hey, yo, come on. Let's not worry about the war crimes that we are committing. Let's not worry about the crimes of the Democratic Party. Let's push for reform. Let's push for reform. Even though the nuclear war, let's push for reforms. Let's push for reforms in a deadly capitalist system that's going to continue to kill people. He's talking about war, and he's like, and the audience is like, no, fuck that bullshit. Let's talk about real important issues. You know, the professional managerial class issues. Like,
this is what they would do. This is what they would do. This is the emergency nurse. If they were the emergency nurse, this is what it would look like, Nick. Shotgun victim comes in. They're like, fuck that shotgun wound right there. Tend to that damn hangnail on his nail right there. That's what they're saying, Nick. Tend to the hangnail. Fuck the shotgun, the gunshot wound.
And once again, the reason why this is a perfect example of what we've been talking about, you bring up a real issue. And we're black people. I bring up legitimate issues on how Democratic Party anti-black all the time. I'm like, yo, why the Democratic Party funding the police more? Why is the Democratic Party funding the apartheid state of Israel more? Why did Joe Biden deport 3 times more Haitians than the last 3 presidents combined? Why is he expanding ICE? You would bring up all these legitimate, super important issues to black people and brown people, and then the professional managerial class be like, oh my God, why are you guys being a fucking why are you guys being a spoiler? Why are you being fucking Why you ruining our vibe, man? We fight for student loan debt cancellation, okay? We want a minimum wage increase. We were like, nigga, Joe Biden's funding ICE more. He funded police. Well, come on, we might get a little student loan debt cancellation now.
Yeah, you see the trade-off? You see the trade-off?
Yeah.
Willing to sell you out for, like, the trade-off is always so lopsided. Like, it's always so like, you know what I'm saying? Oh, we get student debt, but nuclear war. Like, okay, we're winning.
Dude,
like,
do you guys hear the Palestinian Community Network on Sunday and how they describe? I said it's really apartheid. They was like, "Oh, Nick, you sweet summer child. That's a super right-wing term." I was like, "What?" She's like, "No." Nah. She's like, "It's a genocide." He called it anything else other than genocide. Like, oh, bet. All right, I got you. You know, I'm down. So these people will be like, yeah, we're gonna support the genocide of the Palestinian people by Israel. We gotta fall in line for that, so we can get 10,000 canceled off our student loans. You know,
exactly.
you see the trade-off?
Exactly. That's the trade-off that the professional managerial class, to get their debts canceled, the student loan, they're willing to sell out Palestinians. And she said, "Sweet summer child," when you said apartheid. She was like, "Wow, apartheid, we're way past that." Listen, even us, that illustrates even we are pulled, even our language, to the right, because we are in a cesspool of center right, far right politics. So even we're trying to, we're yanking it to the left, and we only got as far as apartheid. And CJ, think of that. Go ahead.
CJ, remember what I said? I told you guys that BDS in Israel is a red line for me because I listen to my Palestinian brothers and sisters on the left. If you ask anyone from the Palestinian Community Network, is it worth supporting John Fetterman over Dr. Oz because Dr. Oz is scary, even though John Fetterman threw Palestinians under the bus? They will look at you like, what the fuck are you talking about? Why would we do that if we throwing our main issue under the bus?
Right.
So, and then
that's the same thing you say about It's the same thing you say about defund the police. Yeah. It's like when you give the example, if somebody said I wasn't for gay rights, they wouldn't accept that. But if somebody says I'm not for defund the police, we're supposed to accept that. It's the same thing. Yes,
DJ. That's the perfect point, because I was on Bree's calling point, and I made this point for a more liberal audience. So I'm like, what do you guys? I'm asking you guys, be honest. If there was a candidate in an important race on the Democratic Party that was running as an anti-gay candidate, and I'm not talking about it's just a position he took, right, randomly. I'm talking about it's a core tenet of his campaign. John Fetterman being a bootlicker of the police is a core tenet of his campaign. It's a core strategy of the Democratic Party to run away from police activism because they don't want to be painted as weak on crime. So imagine if there was a candidate that was running that was like, yeah, I'm against trans people. I don't think gay people have the right to get married. Fuck off. I don't care if you guys get pissed off at it. And then people was like, hey, I know he's against your rights to exist. I know he's against gay rights, but come on, just bite the bullet, man. We gotta get the extra vote in the Senate. Right. The liberal, they will say, no, fuck that. Hell nah. But for some reason, that's the red line. But whenever Palestinians draw red lines, whenever the black community draw red lines, come on, man. You guys are being accelerist. You guys are put the acceleration theory. And they always do this bullshit. But anyway, we can continue the video because
I think it only a few seconds. It's like 19 seconds anyway. It's about to done. I don't think it's even talking. It might just be jeering. Let's see. Oh yeah, it's just that probably.
They might as well be saying, we're gonna be all right. They might as well be saying.
It's disgusting.
How do these people sleep at night, bro?
Yeah, it's disgusting.
You make at least not even real number, $175,000 a year, and you make that money literally waving carrots in front of poor people's face. So they all like, cancel student debt, cancel student debt. And they're like, yeah, we're gonna fight for that. They know that shit's not about to fucking happen.
That was just about to get to that. If you don't think Elizabeth Warren knows the donors that come to the doors of the representative, she knows them all. She knows who's bought. She knows it's never gonna happen ever. Not through the Democratic Party. She understands that, but yet she goes out, cancel student debt with people in the audience. You're looking at their face, knowing
This is like their life. That if canceling student debt will change their life, and that's why they're supporting you. Because they're trying to save on that so they can pay for medical bills or something like that. And I couldn't do that, Nick. There's no way I can do that and just say that to people.
They are gaining clout at that public event by pretending they are going to fight for something that they know is not going to fucking happen. How do they sleep at night? That's why I'm asking you guys. How can you do that? They up there, they are silencing an anti-war protester by deflecting to an issue they know is not going to be solved. Because they're fucking neocons. The Bernie Sanders movement has failed. The Justice Democrats has failed. They did not shift this country to the left. I say this all the time. They did not shift this country to the left. They didn't turn this country to socialist. They shifted what it means to be a socialist to the right. They shifted what it means to be a progressive to the right. Look at what Joe Biden's done. Did Bernie Sanders, AOC and the squad, where did they shift Biden on the left on? Funding the police more, escalating World War III, more money to Nazis in Ukraine, funding apartheid Israel more, 100,000 more police probably on the street.
Oil permits.
He literally
let immigration.
Insulin. He let Trump's executive order expire that capped the cost of insulin prices. Like there's so many.
What are we doing, Nick? Listen to what you just listed. What are we doing here? What are we doing? How are we? Listen to the things you just listed.
And
how are we calling ourselves to the left when we're supporting people who are doing the things that Nick just listed? That is insane. People worldwide must be looking. That's like the left over there is they are insane over there. Like they are crazy. Go ahead.
I love that you brought that up because that's a perfect transition. That's a perfect transition because that's true. So AOC and John Fetterman, a big Ukraine bootlicker. They all support Joe Biden's neocon agenda. I'm asking you this question: for what? This is one of the things that even if you disagree with us if you are even far on the political Overton window than we are, can you at least agree that their strategy has been a failure? So their strategy, and CJ, this is how they justify it to themselves. They say we're going to vote for all the war. We're going to be silent about the genocide that Joe Biden is funding. In Yemen, we're gonna be silent about the genocide in Palestine. We're gonna go along with him bombing Somalia. Do you guys know the U.S. government? 30 civilians died in Somalia last month because of U.S. bombings and drones. How many of the progressive leaders are talking about that? How many of the progressive channels are talking about that? We're one of the few channels that cover Somalia. 30 people killed by U.S. government. No one talking. Not people. So their strategy is we're gonna go along with that. But if we go along with that, though, the Democrats will like us. So then they'll be more likely to pursue progressive policies. That's their strategy. Let me guys ask you this question. After all the votes for Nazis, all the pro-war votes, going along with Joe Biden's agenda, what did they get in return? So these motherfuckers are voting for war. They are voting to arm Nazis. They are going along with Biden's agenda just for the love of the game. Just because they're passionate about it, because they're not even getting anything for it. Are they getting a public option? Nope. Is buying cancer student loan? No, they're not doing anything. Look at it, and now this kind of is based on the coverage that we did yesterday, where you had AOC in the squad and John Fetterman. If he was a senator, this is why I would not support him. Never in a million fucking years. Never in a million years, because. If he was senator, he'd be voting for Ukraine aid as well. So you had this letter. I already kind of spoiled it a little bit. We covered this yesterday. We're gonna have Glenn on. I'm interested in hearing Glenn's take on this because he's been going ham on the progressives for this. So they retract their very weak letter where they was still like we support arming Ukraine unlimitedly, but can you at least nudge Zelensky a little bit? Can you wink and a nod towards peace? That's essentially what the letter said. And I cannot emphasize that the fact that the letter was weak and they backed down from that.
Yeah.
So they got all the shit lip hate. And notice, listen to who they listened to. Because there was people that went along with the Ukraine proxy war only because they liked the squad. But then when this letter hit, they was like, yes, we finally got a reason to praise the squad.
Yeah, they thought they
We
did.
talk about this concept all the time, CJ, where these squad bootlickers, they look for any reason. They are
They're
desperate
waiting.
for
They're
them to do anything.
waiting. Yeah.
So this whole story was funny because I watched her emotional roller coaster when it was like, yes, we can finally pray the squad. And then 10 hours later, and now these motherfuckers are radio silent. So
It's a shame.
what did I say? Because the squad, Pramila Jayapal, they don't give a fuck about your praise. They don't give a fuck that anti-war activist for the first time in all year was like, yo, the squad did something that was semi-decent. Wasn't great, semi-decent. They was like, no, we don't care about y'all. We care about the shit-lib army that's melting down in our mentions right now. MLK, a true leader, was smeared and hated by 70% of America because he was a leader that stood by what he truly believed. The progressives advocated for peace in a very weak way, got mean messages on Twitter, and then backed down. So now it's undeniable. And I saw Jimmy, he was like, bro, I can't wait to see the progressive shit-lib trying to defend this because you cannot defend it. Even if you agree more on neocon's perspective, even if you disagree with my perspective on this war, everyone can admit that this is weak leadership, that this is embarrassing. No matter where you stand on the issue, right, CJ?
Right.
Even if you are right and you disagree with this 100%, this stunt of them putting this letter out and then Pramila Jayapal throwing her staff under the bus, Bernie Sanders like, the letter? I don't know what fucking letter you're talking about. Progressive. I don't know if you saw that, but Bernie like, oh, I know you that. This shit made progressives look like clowns to everybody. So then I'm gonna show you. I
almost feel like Pramila, because Pramila she's tied too many times to this type of behavior of like, man, this is terrible. Being the president of the Progressive Caucus while advocating for or endorsing Chantel Brown, like all of these things she's tied to is almost like she's put there to have these failures happen.
Pramila Jayapal is fucking horrible, and when I say that, I am saying this not as just a left critic. I've seen the Sam Cedar crowd. I've seen the neocon progressive. Literally, this DSA sock Dems don't like Pramila Jayapal. They like the people who defend AOC to death. Even they would be like, "Yeah, we like AOC, but fuck Pramila Jayapal." I've seen it. I've seen people that are significantly to my right. Even Ryan Grimm. I see someone said, "Shout out to this guy." I saw your comment. Even this guy called out. Even Ryan Grimm called out Pramila Jayapal multiple times. Not just this last time, but multiple times. Ryan Grimm called out Pramila Jayapal. That's how bad she is. Even the
reformists think you're terrible.
He's horrible, yeah. That's the one thing we got in common with these people that we all hate. Pramila Jayapal. So here, Mick Wallace already buried the lead a little bit on this mini segment. The international left, a common theme on RBN, we've been explaining to you guys, the United States left is viewed as a complete joke compared to the rest of the world. A lot of people, like if you look at, listen to the professional managerial critics of RBN, they'll see our videos of calling out Marianne Williamson, some random professional managerial class boutique leftists, and they're like, oh my God, CJ and RBN is so mean. How can you guys be mean to Marianne Williamson? How do you guys don't like David Sirota? Meanwhile, the left in other countries are looking at these people like, what the fuck is wrong with you people? And I know this because, once again, I'm deep in online left discourse. I got to meet people like Josana. I got to meet Palestinian activists. You heard how Ashley and the Palestinian Community Network, they said and she said with her whole chest, she said, fuck every single progressive Democrat. And these are how Palestinians feel. Yes. And when you talk to Josana and you talk to Brazilian leftists, they're like, yeah, fuck Joe Biden, fuck Bernie Sanders, fuck the entire America. So the people who defend Marianne Williamson, the people who defend the professional managerial class, the people who defend AOC, you guys are the global minority. The rest of the world look at you guys as the clowns that you are. So this is Mick Wallace, a guy we feature all the time on the show because he has been on fire calling out the Ukraine proxy war. He called out the Haiti disaster.
Too.
Like I literally just click his timeline and I can pick any video, and everyone is fire. I don't have to even plan a segment. I'm like, let's see what Mick Wallace say. I'll play a video that's just fire. So he's a real leftist, and he looking at the United States leftists and like, look at these motherfuckers. These motherfuckers are weak. He said the Democrats in the U.S. don't want peace because the military-industrial complex helped to put them in power. This is in response to the AOC story. They are clearly subservient to the war machine and couldn't care less how many died. Guys, this is not an RBN segment. This is coming from a left member of European Parliament. You guys understand me?
The thing is, now they do bad stuff all the time. But this got to the level where they was like, oh, okay, now we got to say something. Because they do bad stuff all the time and they don't call them out. So this got to them like, what? These niggas backed out on this little crumb of a crumb? Go ahead.
Yeah, usually Claire, that's a good point, CJ, because usually Claire Daly and Mick Wallace is so focused on calling out the EU and NATO and the corruption of the West. And they don't have time to call out Bernie and AOC on their bullshit. But this story was so clownish. It was so embarrassing for them. Even Mick Wallace was like, all right, motherfucker, I'm tired of this. I'm going to let these niggas know I don't fuck with these U.S. leftists. And this is what they saying about the squad. He said they are clearly subservient to the war machine and couldn't care less about how many people died. The people want peace. The self-serving politicians don't. Scathing.
That's who we want. That's who we want here.
Yes.
That's literally the politicians we need that speak like that and speak about other politicians who are like AOC in the way that he did.
Yes. Give me a Claire Daly all day.
All day.
People
she
made
a comment too. I think it'll be part of another segment. She made a comment too about AOC or somebody, the squad or something.
I must have missed it.
Yeah, I'll bring it up. I think I have it. I'll bring it up.
Yeah, so people, once again, these pathetic AOC sycophants and bootlickers, they all be like, Nick, why you always criticize AOC? If AOC was out there doing the shit that Claire Daly was doing, what ammunition would I have? In fact, if AOC in an alternate universe from day one was like Claire Daly, for one, they'll probably kick her out by now. Like she would only been served one term.
Yeah.
But in this alternate universe, let's say the second that AOC beat Joe Crowley, she was giving Claire Daly style speeches on Congress. It would be different. Then we'd be like, yo, y'all see AOC's last speech? Bro, you see her rip Joe Biden for funding Ukrainian Nazis? You see how AOC called out Ned? You guys, I'm telling you, I'd much rather do that segment. There are people think I just love bashing AOC. I'd much rather do the segment of, damn, dude, Bernie Sanders did it again. Bernie Sanders called out NATO again. Nigga, Bernie's that nigga, man. AOC's that she did it again. I'd much rather do that segment. They are just fucking trash, and they will never get that opportunity. Compare Claire Daly and Mick Wallace to the squad, right? But CJ, anything you want to add? Because I'm gonna use this time to transition to the John Fetterman. And now,
let me just do the shout out. To get you set up so you can set up the next story. Next story, by the way, is the John Fetterman story. And for those that just tuned in and you're wondering the title, why do we have the title that it is? And it's because Dems fuel the rise of GOP fascism and the popularity of it by not fulfilling promises, by not delivering anything. And if you saw my example earlier, it's if Nick and I are trying to vie for the same girl, if I'm bad and he's bad, you see how it's an even choice. You see how it would be a hard decision. But if the Republicans are bad, all the Democrats have to do is be good and they'll win every election. So they are the ones that's fueling it by the lackluster response, by the lack of a response, by the failure for $15 and so on and so on and so on. So that's what we're talking about. That's what all these stories are relating to. Like this video. If you just got here, I think the last time we were at about 200 likes. Can we push to 250? We got 325 people watching. Can we push to 250 likes?
Also, if you want to be notified of our streams, just join our Substack, and that you will be placed on our mailing list, and you'll get notifications directly to your email, and you can watch our content from there. And again, let's try to push to 250. All right, Nick, let's go with the John Fetterman story.
So I have to say, RBN was first. We warned you guys about John Fetterman months ago. I still remember the first time I heard about John Fetterman. Someone mentioned, like, man, what do you think about John Fetterman? He's a pretty progressive Senate candidate. They're like, what? Who the fuck is that? I don't know what the fuck John Fetterman is. So I was like, I guess I'll take your word for it. I guess apparently he's like this Bernie progressive guy. And then I looked into John Fetterman for literally 1 minute. And I found, because I usually like, all right, where you stand on, I'm not going to listen to your speeches. I'm going to see where you stand on certain issues. So I remember I typed in John Fetterman, Israel. That's like one of the first things I typed in. And immediately he said, that's an article I'll pull all the time. I have a bookmark. I don't have it saved, but I can always find it pretty quickly. I found this article, and I showed it to quite a few people. I showed it to a few guests on this show, that not just like average guests. I'm talking about like a few people who are politically informed, and they're like, oh, shit, I didn't see this. Because no one talked about it. I saw this. It was like the first thing I saw on John Fetterman. I was like, immediately, hell no. And then I put the two and two together because I heard that there was this Senate candidate that is running that pulled a shotgun out on a black jogger. I heard of it, but I didn't put the two and two together that was John Fetterman. And then I remember when he won the primary, then that oppo on him pulling a shotgun on a black jogger pulled up again. Yeah. And I was like, holy shit, that's him? Are you? I didn't even put the two and two together. Like I knew John Fetterman, the imperialist. And then I heard that some guy pulled a shotgun. Then I'm like, that's the same guy.
That was the same guy.
And he designed it. So if it was just to point a shotgun now on a black guy, that is horrific. And that will take a lot of, you got to be amazing on literally every single fucking issue for anyone to excuse that. But combining that with the fact that he's a Zionist, then I typed in John Fetterman, Ukraine. You guys, Google exists. I don't understand how people are tricked by these people. You can literally Google these people policy positions. So I remember I Googled John Fetterman, Ukraine. First thing pulled up, yeah, we got a pledge of support to defeat Putin and fund Ukraine. I'm like, oh, Jesus fucking Christ. So he's over 3. Pulled a shotgun on a black voter. He's a Zionist. He supports endless war.
Then, but what's the trade-off? Medicare for all, $15 minimum wage, though, Nick. That's it. That's the trade-off.
The trade-off is one Senate vote that will not fucking matter. That Senate vote will not fucking matter. I broke up so many brains on this. Let me ask you guys this question: How many times the establishment really wanted something, and then the filibuster stopped it? So when was the last time the establishment was like, oh, we want to get corporate bailouts, and they're like, oh, damn, we can't do it because of the fucking filibuster? When was the last time that our establishment was like, we want to go to war? Damn, unfortunately, we don't got the votes in the Senate. No, nigga, whatever the establishment wants to do, they would do. Anything the establishment wants to block, they will block. You are not going to trick capitalism to reforming itself. Are we clear? So that vote does not matter. I'm just letting you guys know. So to me, with that said, this shit is nothing but a clown show to me. Political theater. That's all it is. Shit doesn't fucking matter. The other channels that tell you otherwise does not. Compared to the goals we were trying to accomplish. Does not. So then I listened to this debate. We know all these things. So John Fetterman like 0 for 4. He also horrible on issue of policing. So many fucking horrific things. So I'm listening to this debate. And it's playing in the background, and because I'm doing household chores or whatever. And then John Fetterman took it to the next level, and no one is talking about it. So the narrative around the debate regarding John Fetterman and Dr. Oz is John Fetterman had a stroke. John Fetterman, is he fit to serve? I don't know, John Fetterman fit to serve. People vote Democrat and Republican. Nigga will vote for Nancy Pelosi like John Fetterman fit to serve. Nigga will vote for Donald Trump, who is, I cannot understand the motherfucker. And then people will be like, is John Fetterman fit to serve? And so they are purposely filling the air with bullshit. So I'll be 100% real with you guys. If there was a revolutionary running that supported everything that I support, if he had a stroke and he barely talked, I would still vote for that motherfucker. Doesn't matter. Does not matter. And then if anyone who anyone who said they wouldn't, they are bullshitting you. They're lying. The reason why the Democrats support John Fetterman, because they don't give a fuck. The Republicans will support the same reason Republicans support Herschel Walker, because they're like, we don't give a fuck. It's all about power, baby. So if they had someone who suffered from a stroke, they would support him too. And I would too. Can we all be honest? If someone supported our agenda, we would support them whether they had a stroke or fucking not.
Right.
So the debate in the election had nothing to do with that. So I think everyone is talking about John Fetterman's performance and mental acuity. That is the last thing I'm talking about. I am listening to what he is saying. John Fetterman is an unhinged neocon. And I'm listening to the debate and I'm ignoring like John Fetterman's slip-ups because it's not relevant. I don't give a fuck. If you guys notice, like, I may chuckle every once in a while, but I rarely ever cover Biden's dementia. You guys know I don't really talk about it that much because there's like 1,000 other things we can attack him on. That's actually not very that persuasive. Like if you're talking to someone who likes Joe Biden and you bring up his mental acuity, that would turn people off. Like people are like, oh, you got nothing else against them. That's why I don't talk about it, because it's a weak argument. So if you talk about John Fetterman and you talk about his stroke, that's actually weak, because then people will be like, oh man, you're just talking about his stroke because you got nothing else on him. No, that is the last thing I care about. John Fetterman is trash because he is a Zionist. Mm-hmm. And apparently he supports war against China. So they asked him this question, and I'm going to let the video play, because I think I'll preface the story enough. They asked him, what is the biggest foreign policy threat in the world? And I'm going to share what my answer would be. And we got a pretty left audience here. Everyone know what a true left answer to this question would be. What is the biggest foreign threat to the United States? Let's listen to John Fetterman. Might as well be Dr. Oz. When you listen to this answer, this is the part where when John Fetterman was like, hey, John Bowen, hey, Mike Pompeo, you got this? Hey, Don Jr., do you want to answer this question for me real quick? Because we got the same answer. Hey, Mitch McConnell, you want to answer this question about who's the biggest foreign threat to the United States? Do you guys want to see any difference between our quote-unquote democracy? Let's play the video.
Next issue, we will be circling back on that.
Turning now to foreign policy. Mr. Fetterman, what do you believe is the greatest foreign threat to the United States of America? You have 60 seconds.
I believe, is right now is China. I believe China is not our friend, and I believe that we can't be able to push back, and we need to stand against China. And I believe that Dr. Oz has chosen to manufacture all of his merchandise on his name on it in China. Which one of us on this stage is going to stand up against and stand firm against China? And I believe that's our single biggest issue right now, to make sure that we address China and make sure that we know that it's not our friend.
Mr. Oz, what do you believe is the greatest foreign threat?
China is not our friend? CJ, what did China do to you?
I have no idea what he's talking about. Because China ain't the police. China ain't the police. China ain't the Senate parliamentarian.
CJ, did China imprison 1/4 of our the world's prison population? Is it China that kneeling on the neck of our people and killing our people indiscriminately? Is it China the cause of our massive homelessness population? That is 40%. 40% of homelessness is black people, despite us being 13% of the population. Is that China? See, the biggest threat is China. So let me listen to Dr. Oz answer, and you guys see, fucking. But there is no difference here. This is like the Simpsons sketch, the old school sketch with two politicians.
The United States of America. You have 60 seconds.
Let's hear what he said. I don't remember.
The fact that our country is not projecting strength. Take, for example, what we're doing with Iran. In order to try to get them to give us a little oil so we can deal with the catastrophe that Russia has caused, we have gone to them and tried to sign a deal that would allow them once again to have the nuclear power to blow up Israel, which they promised they would do. John Fetterman supports that deal. It doesn't make any sense for America to treat our enemies better than our allies. We have to message with our strong voice.
Once again, I'm asking you guys, what did Iran do to you? Now, to quickly debunk what Dr. Oz is saying, what he's saying is not even true. So Joe Biden continued Donald Trump's hard stance on Iran. So the United States pulled out of the Iran deal, despite the fact that Iran was compliant. And then Biden, when they was asked, like, yo, this is another Trump era policy that you guys rebuked. You guys said we should get back in the Iran deal. Then Anthony Blinken was like, nah, we're not doing that shit. I'm just like Donald Trump, nigga. I don't give a fuck. And then they got the same policy on Iran, and they did not get back into Iran deal. So for one, Dr. Oz is lying. But let's get back to the China part, because this is probably the most unhinged thing I heard a progressive say thus far. And we covered a lot of them. We covered Ro Khanna, we covered Nina Turner, we covered Pramila Jayapal. But out of all of them, I'm going to play the China part one more time. Go back to John Fetterman's answer, and let's break it down. China is.
It felt like he intentionally kept saying the word China, like he was trying to impress somebody. Like, look, I'm calling out China. China is a threat. China, like it was like what? Like that's what it felt to me. Maybe re-listening.
So do you guys love our democracy, the thriving capitalist democracy? Your choice is between one asshole who want to escalate war against China versus another asshole who want to escalate war against China. Or, hey, you got a choice. One guy who want to fund the police more, another guy who want to fund the police more. Hey, I know. Make sure we got to vote in our midterm election. One guy want to fund Nazi more. The other guy want to fund Nazis more. Don't you love our democracy?
Right, that's choice. That's a lot of choices.
Let's go back. Let's play the John Fetterman China clip one more time. And let me guys. I'm gonna ask you guys this question as you hear this unhinged answer by John Fetterman. Why? Ask yourself this question: why does the United States consider China a threat? Is China a military threat? No one, even in corporate media, will admit that is the case. When you watch China segments, which I watch quite a few, they will admit that, hey, China's building the economy. They're such a threat. They're forming contracts with other countries. They're such a threat. And remember, we covered this before, CJ. The corporate media will intentionally leave out why the United States viewed China as a threat. They want people to think that China is thinking about invading or challenging the United States militarily. That is not why the United States viewed China as a threat. The United States, listen to me, guys. The United States viewed China as a threat because they implemented market socialism. They nationalized critical infrastructure. And the key tenet of American capitalism for the last few decades, we cannot have another example of a thriving alternative system. And China is the first country since the USSR that entered the world scene. In other countries in Africa, their U.S. propaganda grip has been shattered because they're like, oh shit, we don't have to do business with the U.S. no more. There's another alternative. They're building here. We're not getting bankrupt like when we did business with the IMF. That is why the United States view China as a threat, because they are providing the global working class with an alternative economic model, which is a counter to the full spectrum dominance position that neocons like Anthony Blinken, apparently John Fetterman, you had all these neocons, John Bolton, Mike Pompeo, promote this idea. And that's why they view China. So if you watch any anti-China segment, they are very smart in their propaganda, CJ, believe it or not. Because let
me chime in on that propaganda part.
Go ahead, CJ. Yeah, go ahead, CJ.
Because it's what you're talking about is a specific propaganda tactic, and that's where you leave the audience imagination for what you're trying to describe. So they just say it's a threat. They never define, what do you mean? They're loading nukes. They're doing what? They just say it's a threat. And think about the word they're using, threat.
Yeah.
The average person is going to think of threat as some sort of physical harm to me. That's what that's why they're leaving it open. This is a propaganda tactic to let the audience fill in the fear, and they know the audience is going to do that. Fill it in. It's just the threat. It's like
No, I'm not gonna use that example. Yeah, I don't want to be called something. Yeah, but anyway, go ahead, Nick.
Now that we explain, I let it play before, but now that I explained that concept to you guys, let's watch it again, and then you will really understand how nefarious John Fetterman is, because John Fetterman is going along with the strategy of vaguely demonizing China. And let me ask you guys this question: as John Fetterman is going through these unhinged anti-China rhetoric, what threat do you feel in your life that China is responsible for? Let's play the clip.
Have to move on to the next issue. We will be circling back on that.
Turning now to foreign policy, Mr. Fetterman, what do you believe is the greatest foreign threat to the United States of America? You have 60 seconds.
I believe, you know, is right now is China. I believe China is not our friend, and I believe that we can't be able to push back, and we need to stand against China. And I believe that Dr. Oz has chosen to manufacture all of his merchandise on his name on it in China. Which one of us on this stage is going to stand up against and stand firm against China? You know, and I believe that's our single biggest issue right now, to make sure that we address China and make sure that we know that it's not our friend.
Mr. Oz, what do you believe is the...
See how many times he said China? It felt like intentional, almost like he had to prove that he's against China. You have to prove to the capitalists, because you have to ask yourself these questions when these narratives are in the air. A threat? A threat to who? Finish the question.
Yes.
A threat to who?
Yes.
There's always these incomplete, because they don't want you to understand who the perspective is for. When they're talking about the stock markets, they ain't talking to me, you and me. Yes. They ain't gonna say that. You get what I'm saying? But if you listen to how they're talking to a specific person or people.
Yes.
So you always have to think about the perspective of what they're talking. So finish it. A threat to who? If you ask somebody says that, like Sagar.
You're on point. You're on point, CJ, because that's exactly the point I was trying to get to. When he said China is a threat to, I finished the sentence, capitalism. They're a threat to Western hegemony. They're a spectrum to full spectrum dominance. So I told you guys, I don't care about G. I don't care about Putin. We just have a similar enemy. Because I have eloquently made the argument that this imperial system does not benefit us. Our communities are poisoned. Our earth is poisoned. Despite what liberals want to say with their bullshit green agenda, the cause of climate change is the military-industrial complex and the 1%. We are not benefited by this imperial system. At least not us black people. If you are, congrats on the privilege. There are a few people here that are not us. We stand to end this insane full spectrum dominance ideology. Now, this is my tweet, because I want to try to make this argument. I did get a little bit pushback, not serious pushback, because this was my tweet. I said, John Fetterman just said China is the biggest threat to the U.S. He also said that we must stand against China, and that should be a focus. That is what we just covered. These progressives y'all propping up are literally fucking neocons. That has been I don't understand people still miss me with that Bernie 2024 shit. Miss me with the John Fetterman shit. Miss me with this. You guys are literally neocons now. Like, you guys are everything. CJ, I explained this many times. Before I was a socialist, I was anti-war. You guys know that? I voted for Jill Stein in 2016, not because I understood what a fucking eco-socialist was. I had no idea what the fuck that was. I voted for Jill Stein because I saw her call out the war machine. And then I later turned to socialist. So
it's always been a top thing for you. It's always been a top thing for you. It wasn't like, yeah.
I was like, yeah. I remember one of the reasons why I sided for Obama, I was siding for Obama because he was a black man, the first black president, and I thought he was going to end the Iraq war. You guys see that? I thought that Barack Obama was anti-war. A lot of people did. So then when he betrayed that, that's when I'm like, nigga, fuck this nigga, man. I was like, fuck, out of here. That what it took for me. So I was like, you're not, the progressive movement, just as Democrats, TY, y'all niggas are not going to trick me into turning into the thing I originally got into politics to oppose. And anyone around my same age, I'm a younger millennial, will tell you the same, who grew up during the George Bush era. So this is the I want to explore this topic. A lot of people agree, but I saw a few people say well, not a lot of pushback beyond. I saw a few people say it's not a foreign threat because I said if you're a leftist and you're asked what is the biggest foreign threat to the U.S., I said any true leftist or anti-war voice will say the military-industrial complex. Meanwhile, Fetterman is fear-mongering over China like John Bolton unprovoked, and that is what shows John Fetterman is trash on that. The question wasn't framed for Fetterman. It wasn't a leading question like, hey, Fetterman, tell us why you think China is dangerous. The question was an open question. It was, hey, Fetterman, what is the biggest foreign threat to the U.S.? And everything he can possibly said, he start red baiting, China baiting on top of his head. That would make this the next level bad. That would make this really disgusting because this is an anti-China rant unprovoked, which shows this is what John Fetterman believes. So I also say any true leftist or anti-war voice would say the military-industrial complex. And the reason why I say that, because I see some person said, some people say, oh, he said foreign. You can say the military-industrial complex is foreign. So this guy said, I'm confused on how the military-industrial complex will be a foreign threat. And that's all a few people say that. So let me clarify. And you guys put back on me if you want. The military-industrial complex includes NATO. It includes the giant global imperial and structural system that we are trying to fight. That is why imperialism and capitalism are linked and intertwined. NATO, the national security establishment, the global economy is reliant on U.S. imperialism. The reason why they need to expand NATO and they are willing to risk World War III to do that is to enrich the weapon manufacturing friends like Raytheon who dominate our politics and our culture. So if you're going to ask any leftist, what is the biggest foreign threat to the U.S., what should your answer be? Your answer should be the military-industrial complex. Because the reason why we are escalating to nuclear war is because the military-industrial complex wants endless war and endless conflict, even if it may lead to a nuclear exchange.
Yep.
So the threat of nuclear war is because of the military-industrial complex. And if I was a candidate, I would say that. I'm like, nigga, get mad if you want, but prove me wrong. Why can't we get a candidate like that? It would never happen in the Democratic Party for one. But we need candidates that will go up there and just say the fucking truth. I don't give a fuck what the polls say. We don't give a fuck about winning because that's not the goal. We're here to boost mutual aid, build a actual movement. That is not what none of the progressives are doing because they are not leaders. They put that letter and retract that letter because they're not leaders. They don't believe in shit. You guys understand? But I'll pass to you, CJ. I think I'll wrap my segment there. Anything you want to add?
Yeah. Let me see. What do I have up here? 1 second. Not add to this, John. Actually, yes, there is a small clip I do want to play. Because when it's bad for Fetterman. When reformists are making videos that said it was a terrible job. So that's when you know. So this is the title, and he made this right after.
Jesus fucking Christ.
He made this right after the debate. So he made this last night. He was the first one. It says John Fetterman's debate with Dr. Oz may have cost him the election. So I kind of put it in a particular. I put it in particulars.
Damn.
I didn't expect this either. And he says many times in his video, he's like, and I'm a John Fetterman supporter every time because he has to keep critiquing him. And he keeps having to qualify by saying, and I'm a supporter, and he's giving his critique.
Of course, this dude's a fucking John Fetterman supporter. So
let's listen to when he gets to the part about fracking. This is where he gets disappointed. The because he points out the parts where it's really bad in the debate. Fracking is another point. You brought up one of the points with China. Let's bring up this is the point reformists are bringing up as bad points of John Fetterman.
Position, and that's not the only question, but it's just one of the most egregious examples that stood out to me. And it was just a disaster. Certainly, I don't think that Dr. Oz came out looking good, but I think he just came out looking better than John Fetterman, given the circumstances here that are really unfortunate. It was difficult to make out what he was saying. Like, he would say things, allude to certain policies or talking points that I know, but if you're just a regular voter and you're not as well versed or savvy, you're not really going to know what he's saying. It was difficult to distinguish what he was saying. On top of that, from a policy standpoint, John Fetterman ran away from basically every single policy position with the exception of the filibuster. So Dr. Oz.
So you hear that's an honest critique. He ran away from every single poly position. He said that. And he's going to continue. Go ahead.
I'll be real quick. Why do you support him then, Mike? So I support John Fetterman. But then he says John Fetterman ran away from all his policy positions. Why do you support him then? Are you not asking yourself that question? What? Do y'all not see that?
Because they're part of the same red-blue game. See, this is the reasons progressives don't think they're part of the red-blue game, because for them, it's not red-blue. For them, it's blue, darker blue. They're fighting. So if you say they're the darker blue and fighting against the lighter blue or whatever color shade, but you get what the point that I'm making is that for them, that's the fight. So he doesn't care, just like a Democrat don't care. I don't care Joe Biden did that. I don't care. I'm voting because Donald Trump. It's the same thing for progressives. I don't care. John Fetterman, he's progressive. He said it.
Literally does not care that he's a neocon. Like, the thing is, throughout the entire party stream, we did not bring up small issues. Like, yes, your rhetoric on China is not a small disagreement. Your rhetoric regarding NATO and Ukraine, not a small disagreement. Your support of the apartheid genocidal state of Israel, I told him I'm going to start saying that instead of just apartheid state. The apartheid genocidal state of Israel, that is not a small fucking disagreement, no matter how much the white leftists like Mike Figueredo try to convince us. Like, they try to convince us of very important state violence issues that impact colonized Black and brown people, and they're like, "Oh, these issues are very small. Don't worry about the difference between you and Dr. Oz is giant. The difference between you and John Fetterman is small." Like, nah, nigga, that gap between me and Dr. Oz is just like the gap between me and John Fetterman, and that's what they tried to obfuscate about. But go ahead, let's play the video.
That's a great example. Where is that? All right, so let's listen. It's about another minute and a half. We're not playing the whole thing. It's the fracking part I want to play, and then I think I might skip to. He didn't answer. I'll play it later. Hold on.
Oz attacked John Fetterman for being an extremist, and essentially John Fetterman took the bait and he ran to the center, which is just not good at all. So John Fetterman has historically supported Medicare for all. That is essentially socialized medicine. It's where you get rid of private insurance effectively. And he ran away from that, just saying, I want, Medicare for all, or I want healthcare rather to be affordable. He said that.
So he about to list a ton of bad stuff, CJ. And I want you guys to add that you still support him at the end. He like, yeah, John Fetterman ran to the center. That's bad. But you still support him. John Fetterman, man. Right. He don't support Medicare for all no more. But you still support him.
What's the difference than a center or a moderate Republican then? What's the difference? Like a Republican that say, hey, yeah, I think there needs to healthcare. We need to do something about that. Like, but he's not going as far as health, doing that. Oh, yeah, they have a right to defend them states, a two-state solution in Israel. Like, what's the difference? That's my question. Let's continue.
He said the same about colleges. The progressive stance traditionally has been free college. But John Fetterman said, I want it to be affordable. When it comes to the issue of fracking, he's kind of flip-flopped on this. But historically, I actually just thought that he always supported fracking, which is one of the things that I disliked about John Fetterman. But apparently, in an interview that he had with Savage Joy, someone who I actually know, he said that he was against fracking. And this, by far, was the worst moment of the debate for John Fetterman. Let's watch.
You're saying tonight that you support fracking, that you've always supported fracking, but there is that 2018 interview that you said, quote, I don't support fracking at all. So how do you square the two?
I do support fracking, and I support fracking, and I do support fracking.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Fetterman.
how are people who support John Fetterman not embarrassed? Like, how is Mike Figueredo and anyone who publicly supports Fetterman not embarrassed? Like, I'll be embarrassed if I publicly put my name on this. Like, if we put RBN name on this, and we like RBN endorses John Fetterman, and he came out with this in performance, I'll be embarrassed. I'll come out with an apology video. Like, nigga, you need to apologize, bro. Like,
let's make sure we understand this. What we're watching here, Nick. The context of what we're saying. She is literally saying, "Do you support the destruction of the planet?" And he's saying, "I support the destruction of the planet. I support the destruction of the planet. I support the destruction of the planet because of the oligarchs and ruling class that are listening. All the Oreo people that are listening, that's going to fund the Democratic Party, they're listening. So you have to make sure you say that by saying, I support the destruction of our planet." Because that's what you're saying when you're saying, I support fracking.
Can I have a conversation with the reformists who still support John Fetterman? Like the Mike Figure. He listed all the things that John Fetterman sold out on. He called back. He sold you out on healthcare. And he actually brought up a few things I didn't even know. I don't follow his campaign like that. I actually didn't know he backed out of free public college. Didn't even know he supported it. But the fact that he backed away from it, that's worse than not even supporting it in the first place.
Yeah.
Because that shows that he wanted to sell. Like, it's better to not support it in the first place to then backtrack on it. You guys understand that? So what did that tell you? They tell you that they're flexible in their ideology in order to gain power. This is a concept that these reformists do not understand. So I remember I called out Nina Turner for selling out Palestinians for not supporting BDS. And so many people are like, yeah, that's a flaw, Nina. But why are you guys making a big deal out of it? Let me explain to you guys how election and corruption works. So if you are selling out an issue in order to get elected, what happens when you need to get reelected 6 years later? You're not going to vote for certain things because you don't want attack ads to come after you, and you're going to want to maintain your position of power. So many fucking idiot reformists, the real dumb left, they will say, yeah, well, of course John Fetterman and Nina Turner sell out Palestinians because they have to do that in order to win. Win at what cost? So you're going to sell out Palestinians in order to win because you don't want AIPAC and Jews to go after you, and your Jewish constituency to go after you. But what happens when you run for re-election? So let's say there's a BDS bill that comes up. You're going to vote against that BDS bill so they don't run an attack ad against you for re-election. Right. So John Fetterman, he's not just saying he's against fracking in order to win. He's going to govern as he'll govern in an anti-environmental way because he's going to run for re-election. So selling out, unlike what a lot of people think, it's not like a small step in, one small step out. It's escalatory. So in order to get there, you have to set out an idea, and you got to continue that in order to continue the illusion to maintain your power. So that's why we got to draw a hard line on these things. But they say, oh, we got to be flexible. We got to have a wide tent progressive movement. That is what they really believe. But let's continue the video.
Absolutely.
Mr. Fetterman.
That was incredibly.
So that's one point. Let's hear him talk about it. And then there's another point I'm going to fast forward to.
This flip-flop here. And again, I didn't know about the flip-flop. But as bad as John Fetterman looked in that portion, he did not look nearly as bad as Dr. Oz looked when the issue.
So I'm going to fast forward.
He still has to do that bullshit. CJ, you see that? So even when he criticizes Fetterman, he still got to do that bullshit where like, yeah,
and it's not even a good one.
But he was like, well, I just let you guys know Dr. Oz is just as bad. Nigga, that's implied. That's implied in our commentary. It's implied in our commentary.
Right. Like, I don't have to say Republicans are bad. That's implied already. Like, I don't have to say that.
Let's continue to your point, CJ. Go ahead.
Let's listen to this point here he makes about something else, John Fetterman, that wasn't a good response.
Reveal or release his medical records surrounding the stroke, and he just has that doctor letter.
Now, I'm not against or for, but why I want to play this is just his simple reaction didn't come off well, and people in the reformist camp are saying this could be something.
Clearing him. His response here, I think, was really bad.
Mr. Fetterman, will you pledge tonight to release those records in the interest of transparency? You have 60 seconds.
No. To me, for transparency is about showing up. I'm here today to have a debate. I have, speeches in front of 3,000 people in Montgomery County, all across Pennsylvania, big crowds. I believe if my doctor believes that I'm fit to serve, and that's what I believe is appropriate. And now with 2 weeks before the election, I have run a campaign and I've been very transparent about being very open about the fact we're in use captioning. And I believe that, again, my doctors, the real doctors that I believe in, they all believe that I'm ready to be served.
Follow up. I didn't hear you say you would release your full medical records. Why not? You have 30 seconds.
No, again, my Dr. L believes that I'm fit to be serving, and that's what I believe is where I'm standing.
Yeah. When you're a voter and you're undecided and you're watching this and you can tell that he's very clearly struggling to articulate himself, then to see him not want to release his medical records, I think that does raise a question. I mean, me personally, I don't necessarily care that much about medical records, but I think that other people are not like me, where they want to.
Just the other points I won't belabor it because we have more to prove this case about the Democratic Party. We have a couple of more shorter, just smaller segments to prove the case that the Democratic Party is fueling the lack of them deliver. Like, Nick, all they really have to deliver is anything. Like, deliver $2,000 checks, deliver cancellation of student loan, not 10,000. Like, deliver that and you literally are going to win. That's all you have to do. So I do want to bring up this shorter story. This is Bernie Sanders. And Bernie Sanders is to the right. Is to the right of the CPC, the Congressional Progressive Caucus, because his stance on the letter, on the watered down letter, is that they should have never sent it, and he agrees that they should withdraw. Have you seen this on Twitter?
I've seen a headline of it. Well, I saw where you say he criticized the Progressive Caucus. So remember that stream I said? Well, I told you guys, even with all the criticism we have of Lula called out NATO. Lula called out Zelensky, and I criticize Lula a lot because he shifted to the right a lot in a lot of ways. But even after Lula shifted to the right, he still makes Bernie Sanders look like Ronald Reagan. You guys understand? And that's why I told my stream that some people thought it was harsh, but now you got Bernie gave you guys many examples. Like, compared to real other left examples that we have throughout the world, Bernie Sanders is a fucking center right at best. Compared to Claire Daly, Mick Wallace, center right at best, and that's me being nice now. But go ahead, TJ.
Let me just read a couple of tweets. Now this
first one, you guys understand? Sorry, TJ. You guys understand? 70% of the world's population is against NATO. You guys understand that? The West has officially lost. It's about whether the West can win with a minority. You guys know that? It's only just the Western European colonial states that support this fight against Russia, China, BRICS, essentially BRICS, South Africa, India. Right. That's literally 70% of the population. So it is not an exaggeration to say that Bernie Sanders is to the right of 70% of the global population on the issue of geopolitical politics. That is not an exaggeration. So center right has actually been pretty nice when you consider that in a global scale. But go ahead, CJ.
Yeah, and like I was just saying, I'm gonna read a couple of tweets until I get to the final tweet that I want to get to, which is Glenn Greenwald's tweet. And this is Ajamu Baraka. This is the one that Zoya is Love said that please discuss this R&B, and she shouted you out with unprecedented propaganda. It's so critical that truth tellers reach as many people as possible. Margaret Kimberly, that's who that is, has already made a powerful appearance. This network is distributing food and water, not just podcasting. But here's the tweet she wants us to make sure we read.
And it says, how do you characterize politics in the U.S. when liberal left elements like Bernie Sanders, Howie Hawkins, Bill Fletcher, and the progressives and some writers at Counterpunch have the same position on Ukraine as Marco Rubio, Blinken, and Hillary? That's the point you were making earlier.
Damn.
Go ahead.
God damn. So you guys know the funny thing is John Fetterman, DSA, and these progressive neocons. Like we gotta come up with a new term for them. It couldn't like put. I guess progressive neocons is the best we have.
That's a good
like
thing.
So they call people like us. They call Jimmy. They call Jackson and other people push back on the Ukraine war. They call us secret right wingers. They say, "Oh, you guys are repeating right wing Putin talking points." They will say that straight up, unironically, while they are on the same side of this position as Marco Rubio, Anthony Blinken, Mike Pompeo, Mitch McConnell. You guys know there's like a mini civil war, and I do be clear. I don't know. I'm not sure if it's fake or not. I think it's fake. It could be fake, but it's like this civil war that's going on among like the JD Vance, like hardcore Trump right versus Mitch McConnell and his Republic, because
they call it the Tucker Carlson wing,
like,
the Tucker Carlson wing of the RGLP.
I do want to be clear. This is something I heard as a whisper, so I don't know if they're like really meaning this or it is just political theater. But there's like this Tucker Carlson segment on the right that's not for funding Ukraine. It's a very small minority. No one in the Senate. Rand Paul is the only Republican that voted against that at the end of the day. And then only like 22 House members like Matt Gaetz, Marjorie Taylor Greene. There's like this conflict between them and Mitch McConnell. And Mitch McConnell's like, no, don't listen to these motherfuckers. They're saying that we're not going to fund Ukraine. If we win the House, they're full of shit. We're going to fund Ukraine. So there's
don't worry, guys.
So the progressives, the reason I'm bringing this up is the progressives are literally on the same side as Mitch McConnell. Mitch McConnell is trying his best to whip the right wing into shape. Because I know you guys haven't been paying attention. I'm saying like a whisper of this. The message that Mitch is trying to bring out is that no, the Marjorie Taylor Greenes, the Matt Gaetz, the Lance, JD Lance or whatever, they don't represent the Republican Party. I know you guys are scared that if we win the House that we're gonna fund Ukraine, we're gonna stop funding Ukraine more. I promise you that's not gonna happen. And now I actually lean more towards that. And I'm willing to be wrong later, but I do think I'm very skeptical of the two-party duopoly, guys. I really do think these Matt Gaetz people, I think a lot of these people who speak out against the Ukraine conflict on the right, I think they're literally only doing it because we got a Democratic Party president. I don't believe these people on principle. I just don't. I think
and just think about when they do that, who are they scooping up? Just like when they do it on our side, they're scooping up all the like all of the right wingers who are not down with the war and bringing them back to the Republican Party. They're doing the same thing. They're just bringing them back to the plantation.
Go ahead, CJ, because that's what I'm making. They'll call anyone who debunked the Ukraine conflict right wingers, while they literally are siding with the person they deemed enemy number one. Remember Mitch McConnell?
So bizarre.
Go ahead, CJ. That was the point I was making.
Here's Glenn Greenwald kind of summing up what this next sort of small segment is in the grand scheme of things. And this is Bernie Sanders condemns the House Progressives' original letter on Ukraine, says they were right to apologize for it, and then retracted because it should never been issued at all. Proceeds to recite Marco Rubio and Tim Cotton's views. Oh my God! I'm
gonna have Glenn on tomorrow, and we're gonna talk about this too, because this is Glenn's tweet talking about it. I'm gonna make sure you guys tune in for tomorrow at 1 p.m. Eastern, because
let me bring up that article.
We're definitely gonna talk about this. So
let me. So this is David Weigel. I mean, it's David Weigel. Okay, I get it, but again, this is the reformist left. Isn't he considered left? Like DSA sort of left?
Jesus. It depends your perspective.
Yeah, it depends.
Obviously, we know he's not left, but he like presents as
right.
I'm the reporter who covers progressive politics.
Right.
But he literally pro-war, and he used to hold like pro-war rallies when he during the George Bush administration. So he's definitely a right winger, but he like infiltrated the progressives because he's the Washington
That's like
Post
such a
reporter.
that's such the thing to do now. I'm right.
Yeah.
Let me go pretend to be. That's such the thing to do because of right populism. But this is where that article that everybody was retweeting, Glenn Greenwald. This is his Substack. This is an article actually, not a Substack. It says Bernie Sanders' House progressives were wrong on Ukraine, and it just talks about him there. But let's read this part here.
I should be very interested in seeing what he said because I actually haven't seen it, and this is actually one of the few times I've seen Bernie actually speak about this. So let's see what he said. Go ahead, CJ, because I'm actually very interested in this. Let's see what his logic is.
Vermont Senator Bernie Sanders said Tuesday that the Russian invasion of Ukraine has, and this is quote, has to be resisted, end quote, and that the Congressional Progressive Caucus was right to withdraw a letter that urged President Biden to negotiate an end to the war with Russian President Vladimir Putin. And here's the quote: "I don't agree with that, and they don't agree with that, apparently," end quote. Sanders told, I guess, Semaphore in a phone interview, quote again, "It was withdrawn today, so it becomes a non-issue." He does not want to talk about this, end quote. Sanders, who is launching a multi-state midterm campaign swing to help Democrats in tough races, remain committed
not to help
to
the poor
support
and working class.
Right.
I just want to emphasize that. I'll be real quick. He's not launching a multi-state midterm campaign to feed people, to house people,
That's such a
to
good
build a mutual aid network. He's doing it to help Democrats. I just want to emphasize that. But go ahead.
And he didn't do it. Remember, he had a movement in the palm of his hands where they were supplying him millions of dollars.
Yep.
And did he go, you know what? Yeah, I'm dropping out of the race, but the people want it. I'm going on a tour. Did he do that?
Nope.
But he's doing it to elect the imperialist Democrats. That is a great point. Let me continue. Senator Sanders, who is launching a multi-state midterm campaign swing to help Democrats in a tough race, remain committed to supporting Ukraine from, quote, a major power invading and causing mass destruction, end quote. He dismissed the claim from some candidates and some protesters who have called progressive members of Congress warmongers over their vote to fund Ukraine's counter-offensive. Now listen to this. This is the last quote.
Jesus fucking Christ.
Quote, Bernie Sanders, "Democrats warmongers, question?" Sanders said, "When you have Putin breaking all kinds of international laws, unleashing an incredibly disgusting and horrific level of destruction against the people of Ukraine." So it's like warmongers. That's his reaction.
You used to call them warmongers. You forget? You forget. Bro. So now Bernie is now pretending that all his criticisms of Biden's foreign policy doesn't apply. He used to criticize him for starting the Iraq war. Bernie, do you think Putin's kill count is anywhere near Biden's? And you notice that he thinks that this conflict started this year. And Bernie knows better.
He has to know better.
Do you guys really think Bernie think this conflict started this year? So we can criticize Russia for being responsible for the deaths of civilians, but where is the outrage over the U.S. intervention where CIA propped up, armed, and trained Nazi militia fighters in Ukraine, which launched the Maidan coup in 2014? And then they started ethnically cleansing and shelling and killing Eastern Ukrainians who wouldn't become independent in retaliation of that. Bernie doesn't give a fuck about that. So you know that Bernie don't care about those Ukrainians. And that's why these people are disgusting. They claim, oh, we want to stand up for Ukrainians. This is why we do these pro-war, anti-peace votes. Nigga, you are literally not standing for the ethnic Ukrainians. What about the Romani Ukrainians? You know the people that was purged and attacked by the Azov Battalion and neo-Nazis? All the small minority groups? Bernie doesn't care about that. Oh, that's so unbelievable.
Yeah, let me play.
That's the first time that we've seen Bernie like speak on the substance. Sorry, I passed to you, CJ, but that's the first time that I've seen that Bernie tried to justify why we support Ukraine. And you guys see how incoherent it is. This is why I wanted to hear an explanation. I want to hear you guys explain why you support the Ukraine proxy war. And from when that in that short snippet, and we're gonna dive into it more, I think, CJ. But in that short snippet that we saw, we see why Bernie doesn't talk about it. He has no idea what the fuck he's talking about. He's like, Putin. Putin is the one violating international law. Bernie, it was Amnesty International that called out Ukraine for violating international law by targeting civilians and building infrastructure near civilian, they put the military operation near civilian areas that endanger civilians. Yes, Amnesty International also criticized Russia, but why is Bernie pertaining only one side, that the side that he supports is doing nothing while fear-mongering over Putin? You have the neo-Nazis in the Azov Battalion and in eastern Ukraine. What do you guys think happens to the Ukrainians that are pro-Russian? What do you guys think that happens to the Ukrainians that are caught speaking Russian? These are kind of things that Bernie ignores, the Western media ignores. It's been well documented that anyone that the Ukrainian government seen as a Russian sympathizer, they are killing, they are imprisoning, and they are torturing, which is a war crime. And it's been well documented that the Ukrainian government are committing war crimes by retaliating against pro-Russian Ukrainians, the people that Bernie Sanders is erasing. See, do you guys know how disgusting that is? They just erase the victims of the Maidan War, of the shelling of the Azov Battalion, and the civilians that the fascist, corrupt Ukrainian government has targeted, imprisoned, tortured, and killed. Oh, Jesus. Like, it's so horrible. When you see how bad Bernie Sanders and Kyle Kulinski is on this issue, it made me gross. Like, when I hear this, it made me gross that we was ever allies. Think about their geopolitical ideology is unhinged. Fuck the Eastern Ukraine. Fuck the ethnic Russian Ukrainians. Yeah, fuck peace. Fuck this letter for peace. I'm never gonna advocate for peace because I live in some fucking Disney Marvel fantasy.
Right.
Russia is Thanos. We're gonna defeat Thanos. Nigga did the real war. We gotta negotiate for peace when there is war between global powers. When there is war between small countries and big country versus small country, yes, you can end the war by domination and subjugation and colonialism. Historically, there has never, ever been a war between global powers where it ended because one global power was dominated on the battlefield.
Right.
It ends when they decide, oh shit, we're not going to invest more into this war. We took too many losses. Let's negotiate for a peace settlement. That happened in World War II, World War I. Every single big war ends with a settlement. It depends on how far you take it. And then the big powers like, oh shit, we're going to collapse the empire. Let's end the war. So they live in a fantasy. Even if you guys dominate Russia on the battlefield, I want you guys to understand this. Even if they dominate Russia on the battlefield, they still have to negotiate for peace. Is that clear? Bernie and these progressive neocons and liberals, they keep pretending that, if we just beat the fuck out of them on the battlefield, Putin be like, oh shit, let's leave Ukraine. Oh my God, we get our ass kicked. Run, nigga, run. Nigga, that's not how it works. And that's not how it's gonna end. But sorry, let's continue. But it's so crazy.
Yeah, let's just close this segment out about Bernie Sanders being terrible and being to the right of the Congressional Progressive Caucus with one of his videos pleading for the Democratic Party.
Now, I know there are a lot of people out there who don't pay much attention to midterm elections. In fact, many Americans don't even know who's running for Congress in their district or for the U.S. Senate in their state or for governor. And they're thinking, it's not a presidential election. What's the big deal? Why should I go out and vote? Why should I knock on doors or work on a campaign? Who cares? Well, if you are one of those people, and that's what you're thinking, let me be very clear. You are dead wrong. The election in 5 weeks is the most important midterm election in the modern history of this country. And to a very significant degree, will determine the future of the United States of America, and it will have a major impact on your life and the life of your family. Yes, it does matter a whole lot who controls the U.S. Senate and the U.S. House. And let me tell you why. We are living in an unprecedented moment in history and in extraordinarily dangerous and unsettling times.
And I just wanted him to say that last part because, and we can end the segment here, because the problem with what Bernie Sanders is saying, what problem with Nina Turner had, all the problems you're bringing up about what people are going through, the Democrats are in power. That's your problem. So what is your selling point? It's this is going on. This is going on. People need this. People need this. And it's like, vote for the people who are in power now that's not doing anything. Doesn't make any sense. Doesn't make any sense. Any last words on this segment before? There is one last thing I want to add to this, and that's Stacey Abrams. I want to show you a clip, and I don't think you've seen it yet from BJG, but go ahead.
Yeah. You mind if I dip? Because I actually got head out.
Go ahead.
It's actually my sister's birthday today, so we're going out to eat.
Oh, damn, I didn't know that. Yeah.
That's why when you hit me up and you said you was going to do a stream early today, I'm like, yeah, that's actually perfect.
Yeah, that works.
It actually worked perfect.
Let's hold off because I want to show you. Let's hold off on that. Then we can just end here. When can people see you again? When are you going to be able to pop back on here?
You guys,
what's up next tomorrow and everything?
If you are dropping by for the first time, make sure you guys subscribe. Make sure you guys like. Tomorrow, big interview. A lot of you guys, one of the guests that was suggested the most has been Glenn Greenwald. So this is a good time. We're gonna have Glenn on. He's been watching a few of our streams, so I reached out, and especially with this progressive Ukraine war thing, you guys even tweeting a storm about this. So I'm super interested in talking to him about his thoughts on the Ukraine war, foreign policy. You guys know I do this thing where I interview anti-war journalists, whether it's Max Blumenthal, Wyatt Reed. But I had Danny Haiphon back on. I'm gonna try to get Mark Kimberly back on. We had a lot of people from the Black Agenda Report. So usually anyone who's anti-war, that's a good baseline for me to have a conversation with. Even if we disagree with, like me and Glenn, we may not agree on everything, but to me, being anti-war is a good starting point. Like imperialists, having a conversation with imperialists would be very hard for me. That's a very hard baseline to ignore. That's a big elephant in the room. But like if I was talking to imperialists, I'm like, yo, how the weather's today? Like, so at least that's a good baseline. And then we may disagree on other stuff, but imposing the U.S. empire, I think, is a good starting point. So we have Glenn on, and we're gonna have a conversation mostly about that. So that's good. I'm looking forward to that. So CJ, that's all I have coming up. Make sure you guys subscribe to Revolutionary Discourse on Call-In. I was about to do a show today, but then I remember my sister's birthday. We doing dinner.
Yeah.
So I may do a show maybe after the Glenn Greenwald interview. So maybe we can have like a post call-in discussion. We consider it. I'll see. But make sure you guys subscribe to that as well. That's all. That's all I have.
And then just make happy birthday to your sisters. They were saying that in the chat. So you can drop off whenever you want. I'm actually going to read an article from the Black Agenda Report.
All right, I see you guys
all
around.
of this up. All right, Nick. There is a short article that I just kind of want to shout out that Margaret Kimberly, where is it? Margaret Kimberly tweeted, and it's summing up. Oh, here it goes. It's summing up. Give me a second to put it on the screen here. So let's click this. And the title of it is Congressional Progressive Caucus Chair Statement on Ukraine Letter. Biden orders progressives to denounce themselves on Ukraine. That's the title of this article. Where is it at? Where's Bernie? Right here. So let me just pull this up because I do want to bring home the entire point of sort of the titling for the stream. And where is it at? Here it goes. Here. Democrats are complicit in the popularity and the growth of fascism in the Republican Party because they're not providing a distinct, better alternative. And I won't use the boyfriend, the two boyfriend example I used earlier with Nick, but if you don't provide a clear alternative, then you have close races where it's getting close to where you can elect fascists. But think about that. You know how bad you have to be neck and neck with fascists? You understand how much you're not offering the voting public to be neck and neck with who you describe as fascists. So I wanted to read a little bit of this article. And where is it? So I'm going to skip the letter. So the title again is Biden orders progressives to denounce themselves on Ukraine. Where are we here? So I need to make sure I'm on the right one. Hang on a second, everybody. Let's close this one. Was that the right? Okay, yeah, I closed the right one. All right, so this first part of the article is just the letter, and we read this letter multiple times in 2 different streams yesterday. It's the letter from the Progressive Caucus. So I'm going to assume you've read the letter. So now let's read this article. Let's blow it up a little bit, and this is how we're going to end the stream today. Right here. Progressives made a mealy-mouthed appeal to Biden to engage in talks regarding Ukraine. He slapped them down, and they in turn slapped themselves. That's funny. Let's read on. And this is a quote. But as legislators responsible for the expenditures of tens of billions of U.S. taxpaying dollars in military assistance in the conflict, we believe such involvement in this war also creates a responsibility for the United States to seriously explore all possible avenues, including direct engagement with Russia to reduce the harm and support Ukraine in achieving peaceful settlement. October 24, 2022 letter from the Congressional Progressives to Joe Biden. Congressional progressives are cowards and charlatans. They may actually believe in some of what they claim to espouse, but at the end of the day, they are more opportunistic than anything else. They have carved out a niche for themselves in certain parts of the country where voters are in fact progressives and want to see their policy ideas put into practice. But good luck ever seeing that when the leaders or the leader of the Congressional Progressive Caucus makes a fool of herself and her members when they didn't have the courage of their own very slim convictions. On October 24th, 2022, the House Progressive Caucus released a letter signed by Chairwoman Pramila Jayapal and 29 other members. The letter stated that Vladimir Putin was evil and Ukrainians were noble, and they rehashed every nonsensical trope created since Russia's special military operation began in February 2022. They reiterated their support for giving billions of dollars to the military-industrial complex and Ukraine coup regimes, but also asked President Biden to consider negotiating with Russia to end the conflict. It could have been a small step towards Congress reasserting itself and living up to its responsibility to represent people in this country. The 1 step forward and 2 step back statement had the potential to show leadership and to give voice to the possibility of peace that millions of people want. The potential presented in the letter was precisely why the White House smacked down the tepid request. If members of Congress begin to question the war propaganda narrative, the rest of the public may work up their courage too. The anti-war movement might become stronger, and some members of Congress might actually grow a spine. All of these scenarios are anathema. 1 second, everybody. I feel like I've read this word, but it's not coming to me. So 1 second here. It's not coming to me. Oh, anathema. anathema. My apologies. Let's continue. All of these scenarios are anathema to the bipartisan war party, and because of the Congresswoman Jayapal retracted the letter 24 hours later, claiming that it hadn't been properly vetted by staff, and anathema something or someone that one vehemently dislike, something you vehemently dislike. Okay, so I think that actually I feel like there should be more here. This is where I led it up to, but let's read this part. Now I do want to say this part because of this LaRoche party member. The reason I want to bring this up is because Margaret Kimberly is one of the people who reached out to us immediately and was like, "Hey, Jose Vega is a member of this party, and make sure you're careful." So she was one looking out for us. So that's Auntie, as Rome would say, to give respect, Auntie Margaret Kimberly. So let's continue to read. In recent weeks, a group of LaRoche party members publicly confronted AOC and Jamal Bowman, two of the signatories, and asked why they have voted to fund the Ukraine regime, which is controlled by neo-Nazis and other right-wing forces. It is a good question, regardless of who asked it. So weak is the anti-war left that the sight of even a right-wing group asking questions sparked by the dormant desire to speak up themselves. In addition, the Republicans were beginning to look like they might claim the mantle of peacemaker. Donald Trump said that negotiations should take place, and Republican House Leader McCarthy made mention of ending Ukraine's blank check. And I'll end it there. You can check out this article yourself. Go read it on the Black Agenda Report. It was just put out earlier today. And Democrats are fueling the rise of the populist right and the rise of fascism in the Republican Party because you're not delivering, because you're not delivering on promises, because you're not delivering for the working class. So it makes it easy to fall into that. So I'm going to end it there. I'm going to I think I'm going to be streaming tomorrow also. It's not confirmed. We'll see what stories pop up that needs to be addressed. But yes, I do believe I'm going to be streaming tomorrow. Tomorrow, Glenn Greenwald will be on, I believe, with Nick, 1 p.m. Eastern. That's 10 a.m. my time. So I got to make sure I'm up to watch that one. And we're going to leave with a video, if I can find it. We're going to leave you with a closeout video. Make sure you like this video on your way out. And I'm going to pop up your comments in the last minute or so of this stream as we sign off with Huey Newton speaking about the police state. And I think we're gonna do the Stacey Abrams story probably tomorrow. So yeah. All right. So I'll toss up your comments as we sign off with Huey Newton.
Yeah.